So it's officially 3:05, so we are going to get started. So welcome, guys. We're the Game Development Club. This is our second workshop, so today we are going to be going over the Godot game engine. For those of you who haven't already, please sign in on that QR code. There should also be a link in the meeting general chat. Just like scroll a little further up, and there should be a link for the sign-in sheet there. Please fill that up if you are attending. Otherwise, we are going to get this started. So before we dive straight into the engine, I actually want to talk a little bit about the Godot game engine and why it might interest you as opposed to Unity, besides the other reasons why you wouldn't want to use Unity now. But yeah, so intro to Godot. So first off, what is the Godot game engine? So Godot is an open source game engine that developers can use to create 2D and 3D games. So open source means that it's free, F-R-E-E. Nobody gets charged to use the Godot game engine. They only ask that you kind of credit them, basically, when you're using this game engine. So that's not in reference to anything in particular. It primarily uses its own programming language called GDScript. GDScript is pretty similar to Python if you guys sort of like dabbled in it in college or in high school, but it does support other languages, most notably Visual Script. It does have its own built-in visual scripting editor, and it uses C# in the mono version, and there is also C++ support, though I do believe you really have to dig into the documentation to make sure that everything is running smoothly when you use C++. So for this workshop specifically, we are going to be using GDScript because that is, I think it's pretty easy to learn, really digestible, and a lot of the functions that Godot gives you like off the bat are all in GDScript. It's super, super useful. Godot is super beginner friendly, like I said, with the GDScript language, and it doesn't require a separate coding IDE to write scripts for your game. So for example, in Unity, you might have to use Visual Studio or VS Code to sort of import your scripts from the IDE into the game. In Godot, you actually do it all in engine, so you don't need to download anything else. So just the Godot game engine and then whatever assets you guys need. Paper compile. All right, let me see. And if anyone has any questions, like feel free to stop me, or if you guys have any questions in chat, just let me know. I do have it open on the side. So what are the pros and cons of Godot? So some of the pros, so it is open source, like I said. It's lightweight. So if you guys notice, if you open the game engine, it opens like in 30 seconds compared to Unity. Unity has to compile a bunch of packages and builds before it opens up. It does have 2D and 3D support. And like I said earlier, it does have a built-in script editor. Some of the cons of Godot, because it's kind of a newer game engine, it's not as powerful as Unity. It's touched on a little bit in the third point, but one of the main things is that Godot started originally as a 2D game engine, so right now the 3D is not as fully supported compared to its like the 2D side of it, but you can still make 3D games in it. Because it is newer, and especially since we're switching over to Godot 4, which was just released recently, there's not as many tutorials or learning resources. So really a lot of learning some of the more complicated things in Godot, especially Godot 4, is just reading through documentation, going through Stack Overflow, going to Reddit, a lot of that sort of stuff. But other than that, it's super simple and easy to use. Yeah, like what if Princess said in chat, that Godot's 3D is getting a lot better, especially with Godot 4. The 3D support is actually getting a lot better. Whoa, what did I do? Anyway, let's look at a comparison of what the editor looks like compared to Unity. So on this side right here is what the Unity scene looks like, and this is what the Godot one looks like. So they're pretty similar. The scene is going to take a big part of the screen on the editor right here. So they're both the same. They kind of call different like terms in Unity different in Godot, and we'll go over what like kind of the similarities are and what we call them in Godot. So in Unity, I hope you guys can hear me when I walk away, right? This is the whole reason why I brought my wireless microphone today. Hell yeah, okay, cool. In Unity, you guys have this hierarchy menu. That's where all of your game objects are. That's how you sort of sort things in your game scene. In Godot, we have a scene tree instead. So the scene tree, similar thing. When you guys open up your level or start building your level, everything is listed in like a tree hierarchy. So versus in Unity, I could be wrong, but they don't use trees as like a way for sorting stuff, right? I'm looking to Larry. You know, it's okay. Project and file system are pretty similar, so anytime you guys want to access your assets on Unity, you do it through here. It's the same thing over here. Godot also has a little extra bar that shows up at the bottom here. If you look really closely, it's very hard to see, but there are different like windows that you could open here on the bottom, and depending on what node or what object you're working in on your game, it will sometimes open like a totally different screen on the bottom. And we'll see that when we start working on the game. Okay, so here's what I was talking about. These are the different terms that Unity uses, and then what their kind of like corresponding term is in Godot. So game objects and components, they're called nodes. In Godot, don't confuse them for like nodes that you would learn like in like 1300 or 1400. They just call these nodes. I don't really know why. Prefabs and game scenes are just all scenes. So in Unity, or if you guys are at the Unity workshop or just familiar with Unity in general, if you guys ever want to use a, let's say like a player character or maybe like an object in the game, you would make a prefab for it so that you could keep calling back to that same object over and over again in other scenes. It's the same thing with just like scenes in general. You can rename the scenes, reuse them in different in other scenes, and we'll sort of like go over what that kind of looks like. Events are called signals, so anytime you want a object to talk to another object, in Unity it's called events, in Godot it's called signals. Tags are groups, so anytime you say, oh, let's say in your scripting you want to say, if this has this tag, then do this. In Godot, it's if this is in this group, then do this. Scriptable objects are called resources. I don't really use Unity that much, so I just kind of, I stole this from Reddit. Yeah, what are scriptable objects?
It's like a JSON file, but specific to like, just like holds data.
Oh, I see, okay, yeah. So scriptable objects are like .json files that hold data, and the equivalent in Godot is called resources. I'm sure somebody in chat will, I didn't even know you were walking around, cool. Yeah, because I have a wireless microphone, because I used to want to be a film major and do YouTube. Okay, so this is today's workshop agenda. This is what we're going to try to get done today. I'm trying to make this workshop as simple as possible so we could just cover every single basic so that you guys can get started right away with making your game. So first, we're going to show you guys how to make a new game or import a game. If you guys have already imported the game from the .zip file, good job, you already did that first part. But for those of you who haven't yet, I'll show you guys what happens when you open Godot for the first time, how to start making a new game, and sort of how to import a game from a project file if you guys already have one. Next, we're going to familiarize ourselves with the Godot interface. We kind of already did that with the comparison to Unity, but we'll kind of go more in depth specifically with the Godot 4 interface. Next, we're going to talk about nodes and how to create scenes. This kind of ties in with the fourth step, which is level design and tile mapping. So when you guys first start making stuff in Godot, you'll notice that like, if you've already imported the zip file that I sent, you'll see like there's a big welcome screen. If you look to the side there where the scene tree is, that's kind of what we're talking about when we talk about nodes and like the scene. So that's kind of what that stuff looks like. Level design, we're going to talk about how to use tile mapping, how to import assets, and how to use those assets to create maps in our game. And then our last one is we're going to create our player. How do we start coding player movement, and how do we get the player into our level? If we can make it, and if we have enough time, we'll talk about how to collect items and how to make win states for your game. And then we'll talk about creating enemies and how to create lose states. I was going to mention something. Oh, just like Josh, if you guys were here for the Unity workshop, Josh had a little special thing if you guys had like the best hat. So I have something too. Josh gave it to me to give to you guys. So it's a little tiny Etch-a-Sketch. I'll show it to the camera. Hello. Okay, it's this little Etch-a-Sketch. So I thought really hard about what I could like award this for, because I do give you all of the assets already. So I will give this for the best level design for your tutorial. So it could either be like the funniest, the hardest, the memeiest, like go crazy, go wild, go stupid. Unfortunately, this only applies to those who are in person, so I can't give that to anyone online. I'm so sorry. But yeah, so let's get started. So let's go over here and let's open Godot, right? So I have Godot right here. It's going to open. So this is your project manager. So I don't have anything right now. I purposefully removed everything so you guys can kind of see how to import and create new projects. So right now, Godot's like, hey, idiot, you don't have any projects in your project manager. And you're like, I don't care. We're going to basically make a new one. Final Fantasy spotted. I had canceled my subscription, unfortunately. So let's say you guys want to make a new project for the first time. You would hit new project here on the side. Am I going too fast? If anyone has any questions, please let me know. When you hit new project, it's going to bring up this screen right here. It's going to ask you what that project name is. It does ask to put the project in an empty folder. If you guys already don't have that folder set aside, you can just create a new folder like this one right here. And then you can make a path to that folder, basically. So for example, if I were to create a new folder, it will on my desktop, and then when I go to browse right here for a project path, I would just path it to that empty folder. But we already have our game here. So there are two ways to import a project. You can import a project if you, for example, in that zip folder that I sent, if you open it and look at kind of like just the main folder, there should be like a project.godot folder or file. So what you can do is you could browse just straight into that project.godot file, or if you still have it unzipped, you can just zip it straight or put the zip folder straight into the project manager. So that's what we're going to do right now. So we're going to hit browse. I'm going to go, hello, welcome. I'm going to go to my desktop right here. Let's see. It is this one, Godot Workshop 23.zip. So I don't have it unzipped anywhere, so we're going to go ahead and click this. So now it needs an installation path. Since this is a zip folder, it doesn't, we still need that empty folder to sort of import the game in. So we're just going to make a new one probably. So we're going to go back here. I'm just going to make a new folder. Oh no, is my laptop dying? Oh, thank God. Godot Workshop. Cool, so we'll select current folder, and then we'll do import and edit. All right, it is going to open. It does usually take faster than this, but like my computer is doing like 10 million things right now, so it's kind of taking its time. All right, have I lost anyone, or does everybody already kind of have this scene set up? We're all good? People in the chat? All right, everything. Control version, let me take a look. Oh yes, please, you can leave that alone. You're good. Cool. So it brings you here to this welcome page. This is just kind of a welcome page in case you guys already exported the zip file and already had it open, like the cheaters that you guys are, because I said you guys didn't need to do that. But anyway, we can actually get started. So there is already in right here the file system, which is kind of like the project or I forgot what it was called, the Unity version of it. You could see sort of our file tree here. So this shows you all of the folders that you can create or access in your Godot file. You can create new folders from here. So for example, if you right click, you can make a new folder, you can make a new scene, you can make a new script, new resource, new text file, whatever you need to. Cool. Okay. So taking a look at the file system on the bottom left there, you will see a folder that's called demo scenes. Okay, cool. Thanks, Princess. So you'll see a folder on the bottom left that says demo scenes. So those are all of the scenes I had pre-prepared for this workshop for you guys to kind of toy around with, play around with. Just check out a few examples of what you can do in the engine. And what you can do is make really simple 2D platformers. At least that's what I have prepared. So if you open up demo scenes on the bottom left right there, let's go ahead and open up demo_level.tscn. So just kind of hover over it. It's that one down there, and just go ahead and double click it. You should like kind of open up to like a really simple like 2D world, right? So when we zoom out, you'll see it is the world's simplest 2D platformer. The goal for this 2D platformer is super simple. Don't die and get all the coins. That's it. We talk a lot about minimum viable products in the club. This would be a pretty good example of a minimum viable product. Don't die and collect coins. That's it. That's all you need. Anyway, let's go ahead and test what this level is like. So here at the very top, here at the very, very top right here is how we start running our project. So if you notice, if you just press the play button, like this big play button right here, it's just going to show the welcome screen. It's going to show the welcome screen because right now the welcome scene is set as the main level, like the first level. So the main level of the project. So when you open it for the first time, it's just going to show that. But let's say you're working on a specific level and you want to test just that level. There's a couple ways to do it, and by a couple, there's 2 ways. So you could either move a little further down to that 5th icon where you kind of have like that clipboard with the play symbol. So that will run the current scene or the current level that you're on. So if you press that one, you'll notice that you are now in this game. There is audio. Hell yeah, I love copyright-free music. All right, all of these assets, by the way, I did not make any of them. These are provided by Kenny. For those of you who don't know, Kenny provides a lot of free like assets to use in video games to be used in like like for educational purposes or for free games. But yeah, so if you see, if you just hold A or D, it moves a little guy around, and if you jump, he jumps. And if you die, you die. Or you can just kill them. Let's see what happens when I fall. If I fall, it says, uh-oh, game over. And you can try again. And it basically just resets the whole game, right? So that was one way to play the scene. Let me show you the second way. Okay. Princess in the Discord chat has mentioned something very useful. Move your mouse cursor to the top right of the screen. You can press F5 to run the main scene, which is what that welcome scene was earlier. And you can use F6 to run the currently open scene, and then F8 to close the scene if it's currently running. So thank you, very useful. Another way to open a scene that's not the main scene is if you click on the button that's to the right of that other button we just clicked. This will run a specific scene. So let's say you're working on like a different scene, and then you want to see how it looks in another scene. So you could hit this. It'll bring up like a file explorer, and you just click the scene you want to play. So we'll click this, and we'll do the same thing. And then the copyright-free music will play. Woo! And then you can play this. Cool. All right, awesome. So let's take a look at our sort of side of the interface right here, right? Or let's get a look at this entire interface, because I'm sure if this is your first game engine, this might be a little intimidating. If you've used Unity before, it's kind of familiar, but not really. So on this left hand side here, like I said before, this is where all of your scene and your scene hierarchy is. If you just kind of go through the different elements that are here, you'll see like all of the different nodes or scenes that are in this level right now. We have this HUD that has the coin UI, the game over UI, and the complete UI. Very simplistic. You can have separate scenes or separate, like, I guess, like objects for them. But for now, I just have them built into the level since we're just trying to be super simple right now. We have the HUD, we have the background. That's parallax, which means when you move around. It's parallax, which means when you move around, it actually moves in the back as well, kind of to give this effect that it's like in 3D. If you have a lot of background elements stacked together, you can make a bunch of different what's called parallax layers, and you could really emphasize that like 3D effect in your game, in your 2D game. What else do we have here? We have our demo player, which is this dude. So there he is, look how happy he is. He doesn't know the troubles of life and paying taxes and having to go to work. He has a camera attached to him. That's how we follow him throughout the scene. We have these they're basically node folders. It's just kind of like a nice way to organize all of your objects in one level. So let's say if you have multiple of the same object, instead of just having them randomly in like your hierarchy, you can just kind of make an empty node and like nest them like folders, kind of. We can talk more about that. We have our enemies, so here are different enemies. And then we have our tile map, which is kind of the world around it. We have a fall zone, which is kind of if you fall into it, you die. And then we have an audio player to just play the music, basically. So that would be our scene tree. We already talked about the file system a little bit. If you need to access any scripts or access any assets, access any scenes or access any assets, they would all be here. So if you see here on the bottom left, I provided you guys a bunch of different assets you guys can use. So there should be like several versions of the assets in the assets folder. That way, if you guys want to like completely customize your level, that's totally available to you guys. Let's see here. And then I have a scenes folder right here. It's empty right now because that's the scene that we're going to be using. Let's take a look at the inspector on the side here. So anytime you guys click on anything in the scene tree, it will kind of change what's here in the in the inspector scene. So kind of similar in Unity, you can just kind of, this shows you all of the different properties that you could change on an object. So for example, you can change, who do I have right now? I have demo player. So you can change its collision layers or collision mask. You can change its inputs. You can change the size, so we can make him like rotate like crazy, woo, or anything like that basically. Whoops. Awesome. How to navigate on the scene tree. It's just, if you hold middle mouse and drag, it'll just move everything around the screen. And obviously you could zoom, stuff like that. Awesome. Okay. Cool. There's also a bunch of different cursors that are available to you here. So let's say, so right now the default is to just have the cursor. So if you need to click on anything, you just click on it and it'll select. Let's say you want to move something specifically. You could hit the move or hit, what is it? W? Why is it W? And you can just like move this whole thing. Or if you want to rotate stuff specifically, you could rotate it. Or if you want to make stuff bigger, you could make stuff bigger. And a bunch of other fun stuff. But we won't talk too much about what's up there. I feel like some of them are self-explanatory. You guys can read up on them. And we'll dive more into like the different parts of it later on. Everyone in the chat is good? All right, that resounding silence sounds like a yes. Okay, so let's actually get to some fun stuff, right? So let's go ahead and start making our level. What you want to do, if you guys want to start like a new tab or start a new scene, if you guys don't have anything imported yet, hello, welcome, is if you click on, at the very top, there's like different tabs or different windows. If you just click on the plus right there, it's going to open a brand new scene for you, a brand new empty scene. So we don't have anything in there yet. We will have to initialize it or create a root node. So how do you create a root node? On the left-hand side here, right where the scene is, it gives you a few of them to choose from: the 2D scene, the 3D scene, and the user interface node. Those are super basic. Let's say we want to create something more specific, like we wanted to make a player character. Instead of choosing any of these, you could either hit this plus button or hit this bigger plus button and hit other node. It will bring up a menu to kind of explore the different nodes that they have. What is happening here? let's ignore those. So for example, if we want to make a player character, the node or the physics node that is associated with having a player is called a character body 2D. So let's say we want to do that. We could click on this, but for now we actually just want to familiarize ourselves with level design and tile mapping. So how do we import our assets into the scene, right? So for now, the Node 2D is actually perfectly fine for us to use, because the Node 2D, if you guys are familiar with Java or really like any coding language, a lot of these nodes have to deal with inheritance. So inheritance means just they basically inherit any parent functions from the parent node. So the Node 2D is like the parent node for all 2D nodes in Godot. So that includes, like you see here, character 2Ds. It includes like static bodies, rigid bodies, sprites, animated sprites, all things like that. So let's go ahead and hit Node 2D right there. And it's going to bring us still basically like an empty scene, right? We can also rename this node if you want to. So if you just double click on like the name of the node right there, we just call it like, I don't know, stupid level. I don't know how to spell stupid level. You can call it like anything you want. You don't have to be as mean as me, but you can just call it that. All right, so let's take a look at what we can do to get started on tile mapping or making our own levels, right? So let's go over here to that plus button that's on that top right there, or top left, sorry. We'll come back to this node menu, and we'll go ahead and look up tile map. So when you start searching for something, it'll show up here as like what is the most compatible. So because we're working on a 2D game, we don't want to mix any 2D nodes with 3D nodes, because then Godot gets really confused. Like, I thought you were making a 2D game, but it looks like you have 3D assets. I'm kind of confused. So let's try our best to stay within the 2D node like tree or like inheritance. Godot is really helpful in making sure everything is color coded. So anything that's blue is inheriting from node 2D. So let's go ahead and import our tile map. OK, we've imported our tile map, but there's still nothing here, right? Well, obviously, there's nothing there because we still need to import our assets. We need to import our tiles. If you look here on the right-hand side, you'll see tile set empty. So that's kind of where we want to import a new tile set. So what is a new tile set? So if you guys are familiar with like tile-based maps or anything like JRPGs that use like basically like pre-made tiles, and you just kind of use those tiles to build different maps. That's kind of what a tile set is. It's like the palette of the tiles that you have. So we can hit empty, and we can do new tile set. So that's going to create a new empty tile set for us. When you import tile map for the first time, it should open up this, or when you import the tile set for the first time, it should open this window right here for your tile sets. So you could press this button and just like manually import every single tile that you want into your level. You can also drag and drop it so that you don't have to do that. If you go to the file system here on the bottom left, you could go to assets and tiles, and there's a bunch of tiles here for you. So I've already made a tile set for the grass tiles, but let's go ahead and make a tile set using the stone tiles, since I haven't done that yet. So you could just do stone, hold shift, click on the very last one. You could just drag and drop it right here, and it's going to import the whole thing for you. If you look down here in the new kind of like interface that just pulled up on the bottom right here, all of these different cells help us basically tell Godot like, oh, these are the parts of the tile that I want to use in my game. So let's say if I just like click this one, like this one tiny corner, and then I go place that tiny corner, that's what it's going to place in the map. And we don't want that. We want to use the whole tile. So our cells are a little small. So let's see if that changes this. Are we doing good so far? Any questions or anything? Yes, we're just on the first scene. So we haven't, we basically just press the plus button here on the top. So when you press the plus button, it makes an empty scene, and we're going to go build it off of a 2D scene. And then we just added a tile map on top of it, right? OK. So these cells are a little small. So what we can do, I kind of messed this up. sorry. Tile set. So as you can see, this kind of ends up the cell kind of small, but we could just kind of like paint around it, select the ones that we need. And then anytime you guys want to paint with the tile map, you could go, if you go at the very bottom, it's kind of hard to see. But tile set is where basically we edit the properties of the tile itself, and then tile map is where we want to go if we want to actually place them on the scene, like paint with them. Kind of like in MS Paint when you choose your colors and stuff. Same deal. So if we go to tile map, you'll notice that I can't select, or I can select this whole thing, but it's a little annoying to kind of select the entire tile like this. And if you notice, they can overlap, and for now we don't want to do that. You can have a game where the tiles can overlap like this, where you know, they kind of overlap like bricks here. But if we want to have them like have their own separate cells, we have to change a little something up. If we go here, right where it says texture region, all of these tiles are actually in 128 by 128. This kind of fucks up our this kind of messes up our entire scene, and that's fine. We could just, if you hit hold right click instead of the left click to erase stuff, it'll erase everything. But look how small my brush is. It's just like, because we're still on the, I believe it was 16 to erase everything. So what I'm kind of demonstrating here is when you import your tiles for the first time, make sure you guys know what size tiles you guys want to have in your game. So when we imported them for the first time, we actually imported them as the wrong size. We imported them as, I believe, 16 pixels each, which is why it's divided up so small. We actually want to import them as 128. So what we'll do is we'll go back. To save ourselves some time, we could just delete this tile map and then start again. We say yes, and we just start over. Okay, so we messed up, right? So let's try that again. We're going to import our tile map. We're going to start, oh, what did I click? We're going to start with 128 for our cell size. And then I'm just going to do it with one stone this time. Oh, sorry, I forgot to import the tile set. So, new tile set. We click on that tile set to open up this right here. Right here, it'll say tile size, like what size the tiles are. As you can see, it's 16 by 16. That is way too small because we're working on 128. So let's just change that to 128. And now, when we select the parts of the tile that we want to use, instead of just like having those really, really small kind of like cells or pixels, it's instead going to have the whole thing, because we are going to be using the whole tile this time. Let's try importing our tiles now. So I'm going to start it with one. So I'm just going to do the onestone.png. And now, instead of, like I said earlier, instead of selecting each individual piece of the tile, it's actually going to select the whole thing, because that's what we want. It's going to be a lot easier. And you'll also notice, so let's go ahead and select that tile. If we go to a tile map and start placing these tiles, it's actually going to correctly fill up all the cells that we need, right? Okay, cool. Now we can kind of start building our level this way. Let's go ahead and start moving. Just making sure people I will say that I don't know why Godot 4 made making tiles so much harder, because in Godot 3 it was so simple. You just kind of drag it, you select which tiles you want to use, and then you could just like start painting right away. I don't know why they did it like this. That's why if it's really confusing, I'm so sorry. It was really confusing for me too. Okay, so, There's a paint tool. So if you're on the tile map, if you click on the tile map tab on the bottom, you have a paint tool. You also have a line tool, so you could start doing this kind of stuff. You know, let's zoom out a little bit. You know, you can use a line tool to kind of like draw up what you want your map to look like. You know, that's doesn't really look like anything right now. You could also have like a fill bucket tool that just like kind of fills, kind of like the normal paint bucket tool in like other applications. You also have like a box tool. to like just do whole boxes and stuff like that. All right. Okay. So we could also just kind of start. Oh shoot, I almost did a really bad thing. If you guys want to, you could start messing around with like all the other blocks to like mess with. It's totally up to you. You could honestly, for like brevity's sake or for simplicity's sake, you guys can just use the one tile to make your entire map. That's perfectly fine. But let's go ahead and just draw like a really simple map. You guys don't have to do this right now. You don't have to follow along right now. I'm just going to demonstrate something, and we'll see how we can fix that. So I'm going to go ahead and create an instance of our player. So I'm instancing the player similar to how you would instance a prefab in Unity. I'm going to put him right here. What do we expect to happen when I play this scene? Does anyone know? It'll drop through the floor? Yeah. All right. Let's see. Yeah, he kind of just falls through the world. Oh, whoops. And I need to save stupid level. So I'm going to save. When you run scenes for the first time, Godot will automatically save for you. So if you aren't like a habitual Control S or like saver, like you should really be hitting save every single time. Godot will also do it for you when you try to run a new scene. We're going to put this in the empty scenes folder that I made. So we're going to do this. The player will make out with Enzo. So yeah, let me run it. Yeah, he's just going to fall. The camera's not even set correctly. So yeah. Let's move some tiles a little further up so you could see a little better. Move the guy. So when you see, yeah, he kind of just falls through the world. That's because we haven't set up any of the collisions on the tiles. We just have tiles set up. So let's say you want to have a tile to have a collision. The reasons why you wouldn't want to have collisions on your tile is, let's say you're using that tile as a background, or if you're doing like kind of like a top-down and you're walking on grass. Obviously, you don't want to collide with the grass, or else your character will get stuck. So let's see how to make that collider. So on the bottom right here. So I know this can be really confusing, but the tile set map is specifically for any attributes or elements that you want to adjust on the tile itself, while the tile map tab is specifically for just painting the tiles on the map. So when you go to tile set here, I'll make this bigger so you guys can see. You could go to select, and when you hit select, it'll say no tile selected. We'll click on that tile, and it's gonna select that whole tile, and then, am I doing this correctly? Property editor, physics, just kidding. Oh, do I not have any? Collision visible layers, form visibility, texture, material, yes, okay, we're good. Property editor, probably physics. Why is there nothing in physics? Animation, rendering, terrains, miscellaneous. That you should be able to, when you hit select, you should be able to select this whole thing. And let's go back. Let's see that fixed it. He will still fall through the world. The reason why is because we haven't set up any of the physics layers yet. So similar to Unity, Unity also has their physics layers. So physics mask, physics layers. I already have the physics layers set for you, but in case you guys wanted to set it up for yourself, if you go to the very top window right here under project, when you click on it, you can open project settings, and you could go here. From here, if you go to physics, or is it that one? Oh, here, sorry, layer names. Oh, if you go to layer names, there's a few tabs right here. So there's 2D render, 2D physics, 2D navigation. So the only thing that we're worried about right now is the 2D physics. So I have named the different layers here. So I have player, I have world, enemy, and I have coin or item or whatever you need to. So what these physics layers do is it communicates with other physics objects to tell each other, okay, this is this object, and I can collide with or I can interact with said object. We'll see it more obviously here. What is going on? So, for example, I instanced this demo player here. If you guys go to collision, under collision, you'll see here the different layers. So layer tells the engine what does this node classify as. So having this bit value 0 turned on means that we're classifying this object, this physics object specifically as a player. And then the mask tells the engine what can it interact with, what can it collide with in physics. So right now what we're saying is it can collide with players, it can collide with the world, it can collide with enemies, and it can collide with coins. That's kind of a really basic understanding of what the physics layer and physics mask does. So we go to tile map, tile set, tile map. What is happening? Layers. There should be a collision. Am I blind? I feel like I'm blind. Let's go to this one. Navigation, blah, 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 visibility. Visibility! No visibility? I'm so sorry, guys. What happened? Texture, order, visibility, light mask, transform. I feel like I'm going crazy. I'm going absolutely fucking insane. Mm-hmm. Physics layers add an element. Oh, you're so smart. You actually, thank you. Like I said, they made the time map so confusing. Okay, we figured it out. For those of you who didn't see that, when you click on, so sometimes when this is not selected, this kind of goes away. When you hit tile set and you go to physics layers, you hit add element, and it will bring up those collision layers like I was talking about. Thank God. Oh shoot. I'll stop cursing, I'm sorry, Solomon. So, like I said before, collision layer tells the physics engine what is it, collision mask tells the physics engine what can it collide with. So we're trying to tell the physics engine that it's the world and that it can collide with the player. So let's see what happens now. Hopefully he doesn't fall through the world. And, oh, he still falls through the world, cool. That's super fun. Player. So fun. The world is falling apart around me. Prez, you gotta paint the, oh, you're so right. Okay, that's what I was missing. Thank you so much. I have to paint them. Oh, because it's here now. Oh, thank God. Okay, whew, I'm so sorry, guys. Okay. That's why I was like struggling to find the physics layers anyway. So now that we've added the physics layers element, if we go back to tile set, we go back to select, we will have a new tab there that says physics. When you click on physics, you can now paint your physics tile. You can hit plus, and you can click on it. You should be able to click on it. It should select the whole thing because we have the tile size set to the whole tile size. So let's see if this works now. Please don't fall through the world. He's still falling. What am I missing? Princess, what am I missing? I'm missing something. Property editor. Physics. It's under paint, because I'm stupid. All right, cool. Instead of select, it's under paint. It's okay, I got it, Princess, thank you. Okay, we figured it out. Like I said, Godot 3 had this so simple, but they hid everything behind all of these fancy doohickeys. I sound like a boomer. Now he won't fall, right? This is comedic. This is comedic. Tile set, tile map, yes. Physics layer 0. The world has cursed me. What the hell did I just, what did I just do? Please come back to me. The world has cursed me this day. Is he gonna fall again? Am I special? Oh, wait. Wait, I am. Oh my god. Guys, I figured it out. I hate... Now if I go to tile map, I'm selecting the wrong one. Oh, I'm a genius. We did it. All right, stream is not moving. Uh-oh. Is it really? Oh yeah, the stream froze.
How do we play this? Oh, you can. There should be on the right.
My Discord died actually. Yeah, my Discord is currently dying. Hello? Is it back? The stream is gone. Okay, hold on. Is it back? Is it back? Is it back? It froze when you went to click. It's back? Cool, 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 cool. Okay, to explain my mistake. We have the stone here, and to kind of reiterate what we did, we went to physics layers, we added the physics element, we set up our collision layers. When you go to tile set and you select, the issue was I had the wrong tile selected, because I'm really smart. So you select the tile that you actually want to use, you go to paint, you go to paint, and you should be able to paint the physics layer, and you can click on it. Mine has a really funny tail. I don't know how to get rid of that. You can paint on it. When you go to tile map, you have to make sure that you're clicking on the tile that you actually want to place on, and now when you paint with it, he should now no longer fall through the world. Okay.
What did you do? I'm sorry.
No, you're good. I am going to destroy the world, and we're going to do that again. I'm going to do it with a different tile. I'm going to do it with the center tile, so that we're going to start from the very beginning because I understand that was super confusing, and I was confused too. So when you go to tile set here, when you go to physics layers, so make sure you have the tile set here selected. If you don't have it selected, it won't show up anything. So make sure you hit on the tile set right there. When you do physics layers, you do add element. So that way, it actually gives you the collision layers that I keep talking about, that I was missing. Collision layer tells the physics engine what is it. So we're not a player, we're the world. Collision mass tells the physics engine what does it collide with. Well, it's going to collide with the player and like enemies and items, let's say, right? Now, when we go back down here on the tab, so tile set again, edit the attributes. If you select the one you want to edit, make sure you're on the setup tab so you can select the tile so that the tile is active. Now that the tile is active, we go to paint. It's going to ask us to select a property editor that we want to edit. Select property editor, physics layer 0, and then it's going to ask us what size we want to make the collision box. So let's say if it was like a half tile, we would like drag this up to make it half, but right now we're using the full tile. So we'll use the full tile, and then we'll click on it. When you click on it, it should put this like blue like filter over it. And now to paint, tile map, and then you paint. It will say here like select an attribute, like a property editor. So when you click on it, go to physics and do physics layer 0. They basically, from Godot 3, they reoriented the way the tile maps work, specifically if you have tile sheets, and that's why it's so much more difficult to set this up. One more thing, it's really hard to see, but if you see this blue line right here, that's actually the project window. So if you paint outside of this project window, because we don't have a camera set up right now, if you paint outside of this camera window, you won't be able to see it. It's super, super faint, but it's that blue line that's right there. That's your project window. It's also really hard to see on a screen. So we have our guy. We finally figured out how to do time lapse. I knew that was going to take the longest time because it's just so confusing. So we now have our tile map. We could honestly just work with this one tile to kind of make the entire level if we want to. If you guys want to be more advanced, you guys can go through the different tiles and kind of like add that stuff. So let me just like add a bunch of random stuff. If you guys want to test out your level, I'll show you one more time how to instance stuff. Yes? You would have to set up the physics for every single individual. Like I said, it's very frustrating because the way that Godot made it, they wanted to gear more towards people who work on tile sheets. So like they have all of the tiles on one PNG file basically, or one image file. And you just select each individual tile. And it's supposed to make it easier for that kind of tile making process, but for separate tiles, it's a little bit more tedious because you have to go through each and every tile to set up the collisions. Beautiful. I love it, Daniel. Okay. Oh yeah, so let me show you one more time how to instance the demo player into this scene in case you guys want to test out the level. If you go right here to the right next to the plus button, instead of creating a completely new node, you can instance the node. So you can hit this chain. It's going to look for every possible scene or every possible node in the scene, and then you could just hit demo player, and we'll import it here. So you'll notice though, like I said, the really thin blue line that you see in the project editor is for the project window. And you'll notice that right now, there isn't any camera that's following our player. I don't even know where he is. There he is. If you guys want to add a camera that follows him, super simple. Just click on the player so that when you add a new node, it's going to add it as a child of the node you've selected. You hit plus. You can switch up camera 2D, import it. When you look at camera 2D, it should already have enabled on. If we were to turn this off and play this scene again, it's just going to use the default project window. So it's not following our player at all. But if we enable it and we play again, since the camera is a child of the player character, what am I hearing? Since the child is since the camera is a child of the player character, that's why it kind of follows it around like this, right? All right. Okay. Let's talk about our player now. We can do this in like 30 minutes. We got this. Thank God, the player is actually so much easier to talk about. All right. So let's say we want to make a new player, right? We don't want this demo player guy, or at least for now, we don't want to work with him. So let's go ahead and make a new scene. Instead of having the scene be a 2D node, we're going to hit the other node or hit this plus button right here. And we're going to do, like I said, we're going to do the character body 2D. Character body 2D, right there. And we're going to hit create. So when we make this empty character body 2D, you'll notice like Godot is kind of saying like, hey, we kind of have this warning here. So when we hover over that warning, it says that this node has no shape. So we haven't defined what this character looks like. And the way that we rectify this, or the way that we adjust this, is we go ahead and give it a collision body shape, or yeah, collision shape. So we click on the plus button again, we look up collision shape 2D, and when we give it collision shape, you'll notice that the warning goes away, but now the collision shape has a brand new warning. And the brand new warning is just saying, hey, you've made the collision shape, but you still haven't given me a shape. Like, what do I look like, basically? So how do we fix this? On the inspector side right here under shape, similar to how it said in tile set, it said empty. just click on that and then just do new whatever shape. So for now, let's say we're like a square or a rectangle, sure. So now we have this new rectangle shape. Even though we on the editor can see this blue box, if we were to add this player into a scene, we wouldn't be able to see it because obviously you can't see the hitboxes of or the collision boxes of the characters that you inherit into a new scene. So we will have to give this guy a sprite. So there's two ways to kind of draw sprites for the character. So you can either just give it a still sprite. So for example, let's click on character body 2D again. And then again, you can name this guy like, I don't know, I'm going to name him Sussy Baka. All right, so we're going to click on Sussy Baka. We're going to hit the plus here, and then we can look up sprite. So you'll notice that there's two versions of the sprite. There is the animated sprite 2D. So if your sprite has any like frames of animation, like you want to animate how it walks, you use animated. And if you want to have a sprite that's just like a box or like an icon, whatever, you can use sprite 2D. Yes?
Where do you go to find sprites? Sorry.
To open up this menu or to find the actual sprites.
Just in general.
Let me show you one more time. So we click on the parent node of our character body 2D. We hit plus to add a child node to it. Create a new node. We're going to create a sprite. So right now, let's select sprite first so that I could show you how to import the player asset into it. So we can hit sprite. And the sprite is in there, but we actually can't see the sprite. And the reason why is because we haven't given it any texture. We haven't given it an image to display. But would this still have a collision? Correct. If we go back to our file system and we go back to the assets, there's a player folder, and I have a few players set here, right? So player 1 is the one that was made for the demo player. And if you guys want to use a different one, you could use any of these, or if you guys want to import. Importing assets into Godot is super simple. You honestly just drag and drop it to the file system, and it should just appear.
Does it have to be a PNG or can it
It could be, I think it could be a JPEG as well. PNG, JPEG, that kind of thing. So let's say, I don't know, I'm going to do this guy. Let's do player 3. So we're going to drag player 3, and we're going to drag him to this texture right where it says empty. And it's going to generate our player, right? If the collision shape disappears, like if you drag it and the collision shape disappears, that's because in your hierarchy scene, anything that's on the very bottom of the tree is what is the most forward in terms of like vision. So if the collision shape just disappears, it's just behind the sprite, so you just have to move it forward. And now you can see it again. Now that you have this, you can kind of grab these little points and you could adjust the way that the, oh shit. I mean, oh shoot, oh dang, oh gosh darn. Then you could go ahead and adjust the collision to match exactly the shape of your player. You could either make it like cover the whole thing, kind of like this, or you could just make it cover just the body. So I like to cover just the body. And then same thing with the collision shape, we still need to set up the collision shapes from earlier. So if we go back to the parent node, the character body 2D, if we go here to collision, we just have to set these up again. So physics layer, set as player, and then physics mask. If you have multiple players in the scene, you can have them collide with each other or have them pass through each other. We don't plan on having any extra players for now, so we can just turn this on or off, doesn't matter. Obviously, you want the player to collide with the world or else it'll fall through. We want it to collide with an enemy so that it could get damaged. And we want it to collide with coins or items, whatever you need, any collectibles, that way they can kind of collect that. So we now have this sprite, but obviously the main issue is, yes?
We're saying that, we are a layer in the first option, and for masks, and we can interact with lore, level, and interactiveness, like points.
Yes, exactly. So layer is telling the physics engine, this is what I am, this is what I identify as. How progressive of them. And mask tells The physics engine. Okay, this is what I can interact with. This is what I want to collide with. Okay, so obviously this guy can't move because we haven't programmed him to move. He's just going to stand there all pretty when we put him into our scene, right? So let's see what happens when we put him in our scene. So let's go ahead and do Control S to save him. It's going to pull up the save scene as. We're going to save him to our scenes. So we'll hit save. And then when we go back to our level scene, same thing that we did before. We click the parent node, hit the chain to instance something, and we will instance our player. He is really small, so we can adjust this. You can either adjust just the single child itself. So if you go to... You can delete the other one, yeah. Get out of here, demo player 2. So as you can see, he's actually so much... Oh, don't forget to give him a camera or else you'll lose sight of him. Technically, yes. If you were to have both of multiple player scenes, they would move all at once. Yes?
Did you resize the collision shape and put it in front of the sprite?
Yeah. So the way that the hierarchy tree here on the scene side works is if anything that's on the very bottom is on the most outward layer. So if it's hidden, oh shoot. If it's hidden, you just need to bring it forward or underneath on the tree. And then to resize it, when you click on it, there should be like little like collision shape. Yeah, so we can't move just yet. So, but we just wanted to like instance him so that we could actually see like, yes, we can move. Also, like I said, he's really small. So you could either adjust the child specifically. So if we go to transform, we can adjust his scale so we can make him like 2 by 2 or like scale him up 2 times. That way he's actually the same size as everything. Or if we don't want to have to do that every single time we instance him, if we instance the main node, then all of its children and all of its inherited nodes will pick up the same attributes. Okay, so let me bring this back. So like what I said, let's reduce the scale of the inherited version of the node, and then when we go to the original node and we just adjust it from there instead, under transform, yes. And then we go back to the level, he should be same size, because inheritance, he's just a little small guy. Okay, now, it's a bit dangerous to scale up collision shapes. If you recall correctly, might want to scale up the sprite and edit the collision shape manually. Yes, we can do that. That is a lot better to do it that way. But we're making a really simple 2D game, and I don't think we'll run into any issues with the collision shape. So for now, we are lazy and we'll just scale everything together. Okay, so let's get this guy moving. If we want to add a brand new script to a node that we have, on the very top where the scene is, there is like a little scroll icon with the plus sign. We can attach a new or existing script to the selected node. So we're going to attach a script to specifically the character body. So we'll hit plus, and it's going to bring this up. So let's say you already have a script written and you just want to attach it. Instead of making a new one here, you could just you could hit the browse or like the folder, and you could go find specifically the script you already wrote. But in this case, we're going to write a brand new script for it. So we're going to name it. It's going to name it the same name as whatever you name the parent node. So right now it's called susibaka.gd. .gd because we are going to be using GD script for this script. All right, so let's hit create. Now, this is one of the good things that happened with Godot 4, is they've already added the movement script for you. So we actually don't need to do anything. Technically, we can still change it because right now, holy crap. All right, we can still change it because right now, the input that we're using is UI accept and UI left and UI right. So I'll show you how to see what those buttons are right now. if you go back to our project window, so project tab, project settings, if you go to input map, so right now these are the input actions I've already made, but if you want to see specifically the ones that Godot provides you, you just have to toggle this so show built-in actions. And you can see here UI accept is spacebar or enter, UI left is the left arrow key, and then UI right is the right arrow key. Let's say you guys want to make your own inputs. Yes, do you have your hand raised up? Oh. Let's say you guys want to have, like, let me delete this one, for example. Let me delete the jump. So let's say you guys want to add your own action. You could go add new action. So right under filter by name, if you wanted to search for the action specifically, should be add new action. So we're going to go ahead and name the action. So for example, we'll name this move jump, if I know how to spell. It's going to add it right there, and then we just have to add this plus button to specify the input. So this will specify the input. If we hit plus, it's going to bring up the input editor. So right now it's saying listening for input. So for example, for the jump, we want to hit spacebar. And there's a bunch of other options here. For now, we're not going to worry too much about those options. We're just going to hit OK. So now all we have to do to just kind of adjust this is to just change up these input action pressed. So if input is action just pressed, instead of UI accept, we want to use the new one we made, which is move jump. So we just do move underscore jump. There's an autofill already set. So we're just going to go ahead and replace those. Oh my God, I broke it. Move left. Move right. Hit save. It's underscores. Yes. Okay. So there's also a few things that we can adjust here in the script itself. So we have a constant speed and a constant jump velocity. So if we want to jump higher or if we want to move faster, we just have to adjust these values. But it can get kind of annoying to always have to open up the script editor to adjust these. So what we can do is we can actually export the variables into our inspector, so we can just change them physically in the inspector. So instead of having these be constants, you do variable, so var for variable, and then you do @export. And then you can do the same for this one. Technically, you should change these to be lowercase because they're not constants anymore. If you hit Control F, you should be able to find and replace. Speed. Is it Control Shift F? Find and replace? Yes, speed. Folder, I want to replace. Replace speed with speed. Replace all. Resave. Bah! Cancel. Oh, that really looked for it everywhere. It looked for it in all of the game files. That was crazy. You want to reload, not resave. This is my first time using this. This is the first time me using this. Okay, Princess, don't make fun of me. Speed. Replace. We're going to replace it with speed. Replace all, and we're going to reload. Can I just do this one? This one. Reload. Okay, and then it does. We'll do the same thing for jump velocity, right? So Control Shift F. We're going to find jump velocity. Replace. It's going to ask us what we want to replace it with. We'll just do underscore jump velocity. Replace all. Select hopefully just the sussybaka.gd or whatever you named your player character and do reload. And there. So we've exported. So when we do Control F, let's say we do speed. Or Control Shift F to do find and replace. We hit replace. Say when I want to do this. Then we hit replace all. Select and then reload right there. It just basically comes up like a confirmation window. Okay. So now, if you want to switch between your 2D scene and your script scene, you just go up here. So 2D, script. If there was anything 3D, it would show up here, but there's nothing 3D. Hey, look at that. Our speed and jump velocity is now just in the inspector. So now we can just adjust it. Let's say we want to do like 3,000 because he's really fast, and like 4,000 because he jumps really high. If we go back to the level and we play it, does he have a camera? Yes, he does. If we play it, he just kind of jumps like crazy. The game also already gives you a gravity value, so you don't have to adjust the gravity. So yeah, I only made it, you don't have to make it lowercase. It's only just like naming conventions because they're not constants anymore, which is why we don't want them uppercase. But if you want to be lazy, we're not publishing this. No one's going to see this. So, okay, he's a little too fast, so I'm just going to put him back to what he was normally. So this guy looks kind of silly. This guy looks kind of silly. Wow, his hops suck. I'm going to give him better hops. Let's do like 700. Oh, and Godot treats its x and y axis differently. So negative y axis is actually up, and positive y axis is actually down. I think in the chat, Princess explains why. Let's see. Never mind. They don't explain why. It just is. Okay, so like I said, he looks kind of silly just because he's sliding everywhere. And we want to give him a little bit more life. So let's go ahead and give him an animated sprite as opposed to a sprite 2D, like a normal static sprite. The way that we can do that, instead of adding a completely new animated sprite, we could actually just change the node itself. When you right-click on a node, you'll notice a bunch of these really cool, or not really cool, I mean they could be cool. You'll notice a bunch of these different options that you could do. Something that's really cool is, let's say you want to look up all of the properties, all of the attributes, and all of the methods you can call for a specific node. Close to the bottom, right above delete node, you could actually open the documentation. And in the editor itself, it will show you what the documentation is for the node. So let's say if you want to see what the properties are, some of the methods or signals, some of the property descriptions, like how to use them. This is really useful. That way you don't have to have, if you're just looking for something really basic, you don't have to have like a separate internet browser open to look this up. But if there's anything more complicated you want to look up, then feel free to search stuff up online and stuff. But that's kind of cool. What we want to do actually is we want to change the type of node that this is. So we want to change it from a sprite 2D to an animated sprite because we want him to kind of move around or have some kind of animation when he moves. So right under rename, we could do change type. And it's going to bring up that window again, and we're going to change it to animated sprite 2D. I'm going to hit click. I'm going to go change. OK, cool. So he is gone. He has disappeared. He's no longer in this plane of existence. The reason why is because the way that textures are handled for sprite 2Ds are very different from how they are handled in animated sprites, because you have to make an animated like file. I forget what it's called. So under animated sprite 2D tab in the inspector, do animation. Sprite frames, that's what they're called. So they require sprite frames. So same thing that we've been doing before. It's empty, so we'll go ahead and click on it and do new sprite frames. Yay. Now, if you click on sprite frames, it should bring up the window for basically animating the sprite. We have a default one. We could rename this. We could rename it to like move. So we'll rename it to move. And what we'll do, kind of like what we've been doing before, we're just going to drag and drop the assets into these sprite files. So if you look in these assets right here, we actually have a bunch of sprite or frames for for the character's walking animation. You can just shift click to select all of them and then drag it over, and it will generate the frames for you. So there he is. If you want to see him move, you could just press the play button and you'll see him move. So right now it's really choppy and really slow. That's because the frame rate is really low. On the side here, you can adjust the frame rate, so we can make it, I don't know, 24 frames. Oh shoot, oh my god, he's moving. All right, 24 frames. All right, so see, that's a little smoother, right? So that's kind of the frame rate that we're gonna see him moving at. It's up here. So right where this animation tab is, right here, 24 FPS. Right now it's 5, or it was 5 FPS, but we could change it to something higher so that animation's a little smoother. Okay, so he's moving. Let's go back to our level and see what this looks like. Wow, isn't that beautiful? So, does anyone know why this is happening? Why is he not actually moving? Yes, that is correct, because we haven't scripted anything. So let's go back to our script here. So if we looked at this like template that Godot has given us, we have this basically this movement handler, very basic movement handler. So for a positive direction, this is what happens, and then for a negative, wait, hold on. Direction times speed. Oh, sorry. This is just saying direction is being set as like a negative or positive value, depending on if you're moving left or right. And they just multiply it with whatever the speed is, so that determines if you're moving left or right or not. So what we can do is we can just add an extra bit of code here. We are going to call the node itself in the script. So the way that we call things is we do the $sign. And then we type the name that we have it in the tree. So right now, it's called sprite2d. So we're going to type sprite2d. It should bring it up. And we're going to call one of the methods. So we're going to call the play method to play a specific animation. So we'll do .play. And the only animation we really have set right now is move. So when we hit save, if it moves, or if there's a direction which is either negative or positive, it will move. In GDScript, the $sign is shorthand for function get node or get node and get node name. Sorry, I burped. That was not from me. That was from Princess. Princess said it in the chat. So let's go back to our level. Wow, my computer is getting slow. So now he moves, but look, he's not really moving correctly because he's not flipping when he moves. So he's kind of like moonwalking when he moves to the left, which is kind of cool. You could have that as a feature. You can play as Michael Jackson in your platformer. That's pretty sick. So we could just adjust that super quick. So what we can say, we could add like a little extra if statement block here. So we could say if direction is greater than 0. I can't remember which one's left or right. It should be left is negative and right is positive. So if the direction is greater than 0, which means that it's positive, then we'll do, wow, why did I do it twice? Sprite2d dot, we'll do flip underscore h, which is just telling it like flip horizontally, and we'll do true. And then we'll say else sprite2d flip, I don't know how to spell, flip underscore h equals false. Actually, I might have this backwards. I might have this backwards, we'll see. I 100% have this backwards. Hell yeah! He's kind of good with it though. All right, I do have it backwards. We'll just flip it. Pulse. He also moves so slow. Let's bump up these numbers. These are rookie numbers. Okay. Yay, look at him. He actually walks now. But if you notice, when you stop, he's still moving. He's still got that dog in him. But we gotta make sure that he actually is idle when he isn't moving. So the way that we do that, let's go back to our player sprite right here. Let's select the sprite 2D or the animated sprite 2D, whatever you have it named as. We're gonna create a new animation. So we're gonna go here, add animation. We're gonna call this idle. And we're just gonna drag that stand. Just a normal stand right there. Just a little guy. Just a little dude. He's just a little dude. And then, so we have this if statement, so if direction, so that means if there is an input detected, whether he's moving left or right, then run this code, and then else run this code. So in the else statement, because this means like we're not moving, we'll do the same thing we did before, which is sprite 2D dot play idle. I'm gonna hit save. I'll just leave this on here so that you guys can see what I wrote. Let me know if I'm going too fast. Okay. Now when we go back to player level, you should stop now when you stop moving. There's another issue with his animation here. As you can see, he's walking on air when he jumps. We can change that. We can give him a jump animation. He does come with a jump animation. Oh, he doesn't fit, the poor guy. He's too thick. So in that else statement, right, this is basically what this function is telling it to do is to move towards 0 from your speed. So basically, when you stop your player, he doesn't just like freeze, he actually kind of like slows down to stop. In that same kind of block of code, just put the sprite.2d, play idle. And if you guys want to see like a more detailed version of what this player looks like, if we go to demo scenes and we go to demo player.gd, this is what it looks like. So this is the a little bit more like complicated version of like our player movement. So we have like the flips, we have the walking, we have the idle, we have the jump. So, and this is all provided to you already in that zip folder. So you guys can feel free to like take a look at it and mess around with it. But let's go back here. All right. I think we have a pretty nice and simple 2D platformer. Let's try to put that jump on there. So go back to sprite 2D. We're gonna add a new animation, call it jump. I don't know how to spell jump. We're gonna add the jump animated guy. Cool. Hit save. We're gonna go to his script. We're gonna say, what did I call it here? Because I called it something different. Whoops. So I already have it here, but what we'll do, if, what is it called? If is, oh, not is on, whoops, on, I don't know how to spell, on floor, sprite 2D dot play jump. Yay, look at him. Just a happy little dude. Just some guy. Okay. All right, it is officially 5 o'clock. We did basically go over the stuff in Godot that I had wanted to go over. Sorry that the tile map took a million years for me to figure out, but now that we have it, I hope most of this makes sense. So now it's time for me to walk around and take a look at your levels. So like I said, we have this Etch-a-Sketch, and I will be awarding this to whoever has and to open Apex Legends. I will be awarding this to anyone who has the best level design. So while you guys are still here, does anyone have any questions or would like to ask me anything before I walk around? Yes?
Can you show them how to do the animations again?
Yes, let me go through it one more time. So we're here in our player body. So if it's not immediately open, what you have to do, when you click on any of the other nodes here, you need to specifically select the animated sprite.2D or animated sprite 2D. That way this window pops up. Sometimes this doesn't pop up automatically. If not, it's just down here. Should be under sprite frames. There should be already a default animation set for you, but you could also rename it or change it to whatever you need. So I don't know. Let's say we want to add a death animation, so die. So the way that we make a new animation is we hit the plus button that's right there, add animation. We can rename it when we click on it. And the way that we import the sprites on there is we just drag and drop it from our assets folder here in the file system. So we have this hurt icon and we can just drag it there. Let's say we have multiple sprites to have it move, just like how we have it in the move animation. Same thing, we just kind of drag it. You could also reorganize these so that, yes, so the way that you open the animation window, you need to first select the animated sprite 2D. And if it doesn't automatically pop up, it should be called sprite frames on the bottom window right there. Since we're inheriting a lot of stuff or instancing nodes in our scenes, we always want to make sure that we're working on the parent or the main node. That way, kind of like in prefabs, if you edit anything on the prefab or edit anything on the main node, it's going to show up for all of the instance or child nodes. If we edit something on something that's instanced, it's only going to be for that one scene. It's not going to apply to everything. So, use that information as you will. For example, if you want a player to behave a specific way in a specific scene, that could be useful. But if you want them to behave a specific way for all the scenes, you want to make sure you do it on the main node itself. It is Jover. So the main part of the workshop is over. I will be posting I will be posting the GitHub repo that I made for this so that you guys can take a look at all of what the files look like and everything. And there's a bunch of other stuff we didn't really get to talk about. So we didn't get to talk about any lose states, like how do you lose or how do you make enemies. We didn't talk about any win states, like how do you win the game and how do you collect items. But if you guys want to take a look at it, that's kind of why I made this demo level in the first place. This demo level has all of that already set up. So feel free to take a look at it. Feel free to adjust anything that you want to. Let's say, on this level that we made right now, let's say I want to add the enemies, right? So we can just instance them, honestly. So let's instance the enemy. Just drag and drop him here. So this enemy is smart enough to detect the ledges, and the way that he detects them is through raycasting. So he's raycasting to the floor to check to see if he is on a floor, and if he isn't on the floor or if in front of him is on the floor, he will turn around. Yes? Oh, that was just like kind of an example, but I'll show you one more time. Yes. Anytime you want to instance a node into our scene, we hit the chain button here. So hit chain, and then it'll show up. It will show us all of the scenes that we want to instance. So we can instance a coin, we can instance an enemy. Right now, if you instance an enemy or instance a coin, and then the player we made right now, if it interacts with them, Godot will be like, what the heck? What is this? What am I interacting with? And it will crash because there's a bunch of methods and functions that are made in the demo player that are not available on the player we made right now. So it will crash because it'll be like, I'm trying to do something, but I'm trying to call a method, and this method doesn't exist because we haven't made that method. But for the most part, everything's on there. Feel free to take chips. I have a bunch of chips. Feel free to drink drinks.
Would the inherent thing crash, or would just like the runtime thing crash?
Just the runtime, just the runtime window, not the whole engine. Thank God.
Or does it crash? I just walk into.
Yes. Yeah, and if you guys are interested in learning more about the engine, there are a lot of, like I said, Godot 4 is a new version of Godot, but a lot of stuff, some stuff from Godot 3 still applies to Godot 4. So if you look up any Godot 3 tutorials, you can follow along for the most part. I don't know about the tile mapping, that they revamped the entire tile mapping system, but you could still watch a bunch of the videos. What I'll do right now, I'm gonna plug myself. Oh shoot. I'm gonna play a few games that were made on Godot. Most of them were made by me. One of them I worked on. So one of them is actually a game pitch game called Pathogen. So this is one of the first game pitches I worked on when I first joined this club. So Pathogen, basically, this was made during the quarantine, if you didn't realize. So Pathogen, basically you play as a ship that's like a vaccine, and you have to go destroy like the viruses, basically, right? So I don't remember how to play this game. Okay, there we go. So how do I? Okay. So I died. Wow. So what did I make? Right? So I made this. I made the sprite for the little ship guy. I also made the background. So I don't know if you noticed, but the background actually plays along with the music. We didn't code that. I just animated the background, and it just so happened to move exactly. What the hell is this? It just happened to move exactly with the music as well. So yeah, this is basically like a bullet hell. Princess in the chat, they actually wrote the music for this game, so yeah. So that's one example. That was a game jam game. We started developing like the first week that it was pitched, and then we developed everything else the last 2 weeks it was due. We were in like classic club experience. We developed the entire game in the 2 weeks before it was due. That was really fun. So here's another game. So this game I made for a game jam. If you don't know what a game jam is, it's basically like an event where you get to develop games either by yourself or in teams. You usually have a constrained time limit. The most common one is 48 hours or a week, and you are usually given a theme. So I made this during the club's Halloween horror game jam. So the theme, I believe, was Lost. I'm gonna play the normal way, so I'm gonna play with lights on. What is this game really? It's a platformer, but actually, it's better if I actually just play it normally. It's a platformer, but I made it infinitely harder because it's a blind platformer. So you basically have to go through the entire map mostly blind. So, like, move my little guy here. He's gonna go pick up. I added like cutscenes. I just painted these, just like really quickly. So here's some cutscenes. So the path is littered with spikes. Drag the lantern to light the way. When you drag the lantern, it lights up the map for you, and you could kind of like run around and like take a view of the map. But when you do this, your character doesn't move. He kind of stands still because he's afraid of the dark. He doesn't want to move in the darkness. I don't know if you can tell, but nobody ever noticed this, I don't think. But the tile map for the background is Lost, like the meme Lost. Like if you look really close, that's what the tiles are. Nobody noticed that, but that was fun for me. So obviously if you hit a spike, you die. You could try again. You could drag the light. So that's a blind platformer. It's super sensitive, so you kind of just have to go through it like this, basically. I understood that this was kind of like frustrating for most people, so I made a lights on version where you basically play it exactly like normal, but you can see the map that you're traveling through. There's also a speedrun version. So there's cutscenes that play in between levels and sometimes during levels, but this removes all of the cutscenes and it also gives you a timer. So you can actually like run a speedrun in the game if you want to. Here's another one. Is this muted? Okay. This one I made, most of these I made for game jams, because I love game jams, they're super fun. So this is basically like I think the theme was, what was the theme? Like, it was something sad. It was a sad theme. And this is like a horror game, and it's like a puzzle, like a top-down puzzle game, and then we have cutscenes. Do you notice that I really like this font a lot? I use this font in almost all of the games that I use. So click to continue. I don't remember. I think it's called like Pixel Musketeer or something like that. So, wow, look at that. Look at that amazing text. So, this tutorial level basically explains on the mechanics. So stepping on these, stepping on these like lights up the area. Obviously don't touch those. Obviously don't touch these guys. You could push these boxes like you do. Oh, we broke the level. All right, cool. We've already broken the level. Anyway, that's the gist of it. And if I actually got past the tutorial level, the main levels, you basically have to run around and open doors while a monster chases you the whole time. The people complained that the game was too hard, and we were like, it's supposed to be really hard. Anyway, sounds like a skill issue. Here's another game. This is one of the first games I ever made on Godot, which is another platformer game. But this one is another platformer game, another game that I made for Game Jam. The theme for this one was Better Together, so we made a local co-op game. I didn't make any of these assets. My friends made these assets, by the way. So you play as Sol Luna, so WHC is player 1 or Sol. You can do this, you can teabag people. Open this door, yay, you can have this box. Oh shoot, you have to crouch under so you can go grab the box. These boxes, hell. Literally so hard to work with these boxes. That was like the main thing. In every game that my friends, because me and my friends all made these games together. So one of the main issues we always ran into was the boxes. The boxes never wanted to work. Like in that other game that I just showed you guys, you could move that shell around. That was like a box. Those were so frustrating to figure out how to get them to move. This thing would clip through walls. It would like break the game. It was so difficult. Anyway, so plays this guy. Oh, you grab this moon thing. So then you grab the moon essence, and then he plays this guy. So these like little effects here, they would be considered areas actually, because you don't physically collide with them, but you still want them to do something when you enter its area, right? So those open the doors when you collect both of them, but oh, I can't get to where I need to because I need that key, so I'm gonna grab this. I'm gonna grab that key. Teabag. Alright, cool. This also used to break the game when you would like... Oh, there's a secret ending. Should I show you guys the secret ending? Okay. I should spoil the secret ending. Okay. Let me remember how to play my own game first. Oh, I hated these platforms. You can't jump on these platforms when they move. That's by design, because if you could, it breaks the game. We don't know why. So move through platforms. Oh my god, I'm throwing. Oh my god! I'm so bad at my own game. Oh shoot, I'm supposed to be on that platform. Okay, there we go. I'm throwing for content, yeah, that's right. Why am I here? Oh, I need the box! That's right. I'm like, that's why the box is there. The box? Hit game the box? Oh, that should be good enough. Oh wait, are you ready for something cool? So I have to crash on this box or else it's gonna fly everywhere. That's A+ game design right there. Okay, we grab this key. Oh fuck, I still need that platform. It might be this level. There's like a really tricky part to this level. Okay, and I need to stand here. I'm slowly remembering how to play this level now. So it's a puzzle platformer, right? But instead of moving side to side, we move just up because we're like, the lore is that we're stuck in a tower and we're trying to get out. Oh shoot. Oh, this shit. Okay, so there's these levers, and you have to pull these levers to spawn platforms. You know. Oh god. Oh no. Okay, this is, okay, skill. Oh, nice! Oh wait, if I grab this key, holy shit. Okay, that's gonna open the door. Okay, we're so good at this game. Oh! Oh no. Okay, well, whatever. That was only the second level. The third level is even that hard. Okay, whatever. Those are the games, kind of games you can make. Those are pretty basic, but yeah. Okay, I forgot to go around and look at your guys' levels, so. Are you on Discord during class? Just kidding. Very nice, very nice. Oh, very. He kind of went up to here. He kind of like did the whole like screen right here.
This isn't the whole level. This is the whole level.
Oh, that's even like he even beat you on like a scale. Okay. You can play the box, yeah. Let me see yours.
I just tried making a cave.
Oh, that's so cool. Did you import your own assets? That's so sick.
Them on
You just like drag them in. I mean, hey.
Get into this
Yes.
full of diamonds and diamonds on the ground.
Wow.
Oh, have you?
I'll give you bonus points for adding your own assets. Do you have anything?
Something simple.
Something super simple. Nice, nice. Conventional. We love a good, nice level. Let's see here.
I got stuck on character creation, so I just stuck with the default one.
Mhm.
I didn't add much. Except this.
Be very beautiful.
That's it.
Very nice, very nice. All right. Something to show the class.
Yeah. Hi, crap. There you go. No. Okay. It's supposed to be white, and I couldn't figure out animations.
No worries.
And
Oh no.
yeah.
No worries, no worries. Anything to show the class. Oh hey, what a nice, beautiful level.
I left the other guy there. He's like a friend.
Oh yeah, he needs a fan. You're so right. Aww. Did you make anything? Why is he running so fast? Why is he running so fast? Okay. So I will award this to you for importing your own assets and well, not even importing. You made your own assets in MS Paint, and I love the effort. So you could have the Etch a Sketch. Cool. This is a speedrunning tactic. Oh wait, my microphone's on me so they can't hear you.
Oh, yeah, I'm on the computer. The box.
Oh yeah, workshop's over, but thank you guys for coming. I'm sorry for messing up the tile maps. Those are so difficult. Thanks to everyone who helped me out with that. Please. Oh, you did it! But yeah, thank you so much for coming.